Greetings, beautiful people. This is your girl, Creatrix. Welcome to my channel where I talk about the energies that are permeating through the global atmosphere that are the most pertinent and prominent. I also talk about individual energies as well, but I am a spiritual investigator and a spiritual scientist that focuses on global present energy. So at this moment, I would like to bring our attention to demons. Yes, demons. Now, I know this topic might come off as really taboo because demons are often associated with suffering, pain, tragedy, fear, scarcity, famine, war, just all of the terrible things that exist on this earth realm, right? So, as you know, here on my channel, we know and understand the occult knowledge, the hidden knowledge, hidden secrets. Okay. And so I am about to divulge to you a very hidden and well kept secret that benefits the power structures on this realm and takes away or siphons energy from the population that doesn't necessarily benefit from these power structures. Okay, so throughout history, according to history as we know it, there has been a concept of demons, entities that thrive on the energy of chaos, destruction, manipulation, trickery, right? These are energies whose every move, every activity, every thought, every just goal in their existence is to bring pain and suffering to the human race, right? That's what we view demons as. Demons can be, they can have a specific niche or they can have certain personalities. But all in all, these demons are entities that are terrible. We should stay away from them. We should fear them. We should not speak to them. And most of all, we need to just at all cost curse them and stay away from them, right? Well, what if I told you that there's actually no such thing as a demon? What if I told you that all energies that are in existence, the extraterrestrial energies, right? The spiritual beings, the entities, are actually all operating on a frequency of unconditional love? What if I told you that every entity had the capability of exhibiting attributes of a so-called demon just as equally as they have the opportunity of manifesting actions that can be attributed to so-called angels, and that every entity is actually very balanced in its existence, and it depends on the perspective of the human, right, who's experiencing this entity, to put them in the category of either a demon or an angel. Now, don't get me wrong. There is a specific entity that we consider the devil. Okay, there is an entity that is very good at creating fear, not with the intention of creating fear itself, but this entity is very good at manifesting or bringing out fear within us, right? This entity is very good at creating situations, environments, circumstances in which we feel like we have our backs against the wall, right? What if I told you that this entity is actually the same as what we consider God? That God and the devil are actually the same exact entity. Sorry, this is so funny. But this is occult knowledge. This is the truth. I'm telling you the truth. Okay? So, with that being said, you're probably thinking, well, how can God or how can the Most High be responsible for death, destruction, rape, children being hurt, DV, abuse, all of these different things that we deem as traumatic? And we don't want to touch those situations with a 10-foot pole. Those are icky, disgusting, devastating, demonic type of circumstances and issues, right? So you're probably thinking, why do those things exist if they're not being perpetuated by entities that are running around, just living off of the fear and the destruction and the chaos of those things they're just thriving off of those things, right? They trick us into situations where it's disastrous, right? Why do those things exist? Are you telling me the same entity that, is loving, is kind, is gentle, is non-judgmental, that entity is the one perpetuating these very things as well? The answer is yes. Yes. The Most High is a very complex being. Okay. And that's not to dismiss anything. I'm just honestly saying that the Most High is a very complex being who has multiple sides to it. And each side that the Most High has, it is very well centered or based on evolution. It has a reason, a purpose as to why it does the things that it does. Now, just imagine, right? The only perspective that we have is as human beings. We only have the perspective, most of us only have the perspective of three-dimensional. That means we're here in this realm and things are happening to us. We see things from literally, we are the observers and things are happening around us, right? We have a 360-degree view of everything in terms of a sphere, 360-degree in all directions, right? But as an extraterrestrial being or as a spiritual being, as an entity, there is a deeper perspective that they have. They can see things not only from a three-dimensional perspective, but they can see multiple timelines. They have different understandings, different knowledge, different wisdoms. They have experienced the inception of the earth realm itself, right? Like we as souls, we know this, but us as human beings within our avatars on this earth realm, we have lost that knowledge and we are now remembering it. So these entities, right, including the Most High, they see the most important thing is learning. The most important thing is growth, is evolution. And that evolution can come about in so many different ways, including the unaliving, the destruction, the chaos, the hurt, the pain, the suffering, the famine. And so all of these different things, as well as the love, the gentleness, the comfort, all of the experiences that we like, right? All of the experiences, the ones we don't like and we like, all of that is a gift. I just heard. It's all a gift. It creates momentum. It propels us towards evolution, growth, and a better version of ourselves. And these entities don't necessarily have an actual hand in this, in the sense that they are moving all the parts, because this earth realm is a self-organizing, self-sustaining, self-evolving organism, right, that we are living in. So these entities actually help guide us through what we are experiencing, even for the people, for example, who make deals with these entities for fortune and fame. And in return, these demonic entities ask for really low down, despicable things, right? That we consider despicable, hurtful, traumatic things. This is for a good reason, believe it or not. So these entities, even though it might not seem like it, are operating on a frequency of unconditional love. Entities that come to mind are like Baal, Moloch, Beelzebub, all of these famous devils or demonic energies that we can make contracts and deals with to get what we want, right? These demons actually propel us towards the best version of ourselves, towards evolution. Okay. And you can make deals with these demons thinking that you are going to receive, rewards like fame, fortune, money, or maybe you want love, right? However, these entities use trickster energy. Trickster energy isn't necessarily evil or bad. It's just they use illusions for your benefit. They use illusions to propel you into the best version of yourself. Okay. So, like I said, we got people who make deals with these entities, right? And in return, these entities might say, yeah, I need you to, sacrifice this, sacrifice a person or a being, or, their firstborn or child, or whatever the case is, right? And so the science behind this is that when this person agrees, when the person who asks for the fame and the fortune, when they agree to this part of the contract, they're actually agreeing to the severing or the unraveling of their soul. Because in order to do these acts that require us to delve into our trauma or delve into our shadow side, they're actually exposing or bringing to the surface what these people are capable of. Because these people are not willing to deal with it head on, this is a roundabout way of bringing this energy out of them. Because most of these people in past lives, they have tried to cheat. This is not the first time they tried to cheat in this earth realm. These people who are coaxed into making deals with these so-called demons, they are people who have had a really hard time winning in this game. They're people who have spent so many lifetime after lifetime after lifetime in this game and not making much progress. So as a last resort, these so-called demonic energies use tactics that we can deem or we can perceive as really harsh, right? As an understatement, we can perceive them as really harsh or low down, dirty tactics to get these people to reveal their true selves in order to unravel the trauma or these experiences that they need to work through, right? It's kind of like demolition. When people use demolition, right? They use wrecking balls to take down buildings because they don't want to take down the building one by one. It would just take too long, or it would just be too hard. Maybe the building is so sturdy that it would just be too hard to use manually, like to manually break down a building. So what happens is people use wrecking balls to where it'll take a day to just completely wreck a building, right? So that's kind of like what these demon energies are. They're like the special ops, the special operations unit that uses tactics that we can view as really terrible, really horrible, to get a job done that couldn't be done any other way. Okay, it's kind of like a last resort type of thing. And I know you're thinking, well, in the process of these people learning their lesson, these people who are willing to make deals with these entities, thinking that they're going to gain fame and fortune, when they do those really terrible things to people, we might deem that as like casualties of war, right? Like other people are getting hurt while this person is trying to process their trauma or learning their lessons, right? Well, the thing is that these entities, they don't, and the Most High, including the Most High, they don't view unaliving or destruction, war, famine, all of these things the way that we do, right? Like I said, they have a different perspective to it. So, and even beyond that, there's an illusion. There's an illusion of that's happening in these people's lives, in all of our lives as souls, right? You have to truly feel love for somebody, even someone that you're sacrificing. You have to truly love somebody that you are sacrificing, even though like they could literally, there's instances in where they're just avatars. There's no actual soul in them, right? But the illusion is there is a soul in them. Like, for example, if someone were to sacrifice their mother for fame and fortune, to us, because we can see, feel, hear, smell, touch this person who we think is our mother, we will actually feel trauma when they are sacrificed, even though it is at our very hands, right? But the thing is that there might actually not be a soul, or that soul might have been whisked away before the trauma happens. Or maybe that person who is your mother needs to experience that type of betrayal or that type of unaliving in order for them to carry on in their soul contract, to come back in the next life, to be able to go forward. So there's a lot of things that we don't see that are happening behind the scenes. All we see is, damn, that person sacrificed or unalived their mother, right? Or that person had to go through a really tragic unaliving. Or damn, there's so much war in this area, like these people are being raped and terrorized for such a long period of time. There's a lot of things that go into that we don't necessarily see, because everything is being orchestrated for our greatest growth and evolution, right? We only see from one perspective, that is, there is a body there, right? Like there's a human there and they're being tortured or traumatized. How can the Most High do this? Or how can the ancestors do this or whatever, right? But it part of the growth process, the evolution process, the transcending process, to be able to see past the illusion of the matrix, to see that there are no demons, right? That everything is happening in divine timing through unconditional love for our greatest good and best version of ourselves, right? So everything is designed perfectly the way that it's supposed to work. There's nothing wrong with this realm. There's nothing wrong with the fear that exists. There's nothing wrong with war. There's nothing wrong with the terrible things that we do to each other. It's all part of the strategic plan to get us from point A version of ourselves to point B version of ourselves, all the way to point Z, right? And beyond. There is literally no limit to how much we can evolve and grow. It's constantly happening, okay? So that is why we cannot blame our problems, our issues, anything that we feel like is a spiritual attack on demonic energies, because demonic energies don't exist. It's all just a self-organizing system to where we go through periods of rest and recuperation, and then we go through lessons and growth. And sometimes the growth and the lessons can feel very harsh, and the harsher that it feels, the more suffering, the more pain that you experience during that lesson, actually the more growth and the more expansion you're capable of, right? And all of these circumstances are tailored to us depending on what we need at that time, at that moment during our lifetime. Okay, so everything that we've decided to go through during this lifetime is already predetermined before we get here. We ask for these experiences to boost us to different versions of ourselves. Okay, it's like a game. The more you go through a hero's journey, the more change that you go through, the better the outcome will be, the more change you will experience, right? Because the circumstances, the challenges, obstacles breeds more success, more change, right? Because you have to rise to that occasion. And yes, there are some people that refuse to rise to that occasion. There are some people who come to this earth realm and lifetime after lifetime, they are completely stagnant. They refuse to change. And that's where these entities who we might deem as demons come into the picture. Now that we got that settled, there's also an energy that exists to where a group of people, a group of whole ass people, can be experiencing what we would call as a spiritual attack or demonic attack in order for the group of people to move forward, okay? The example that I'm going to give might be triggering, but so be it. African people, okay? African people are going through a lot of spiritual attack. They're going what can be perceived as spiritual attack, right? To the human, we perceive it as spiritual attack. We see the warfare, the destruction, the rape, the hurt, the suffering, the famine, the pain as attack, right? And we might say demonic energies are attacking us, or so on and so forth. But the truth is that African people had to contract, all right? There was a contraction period. And in that contraction period, there is gonna be a momentum towards expansion, right? But sometimes what needs to happen is momentum, before the momentum is at the place where we can deem peaceful and safe and all of this, there's going to be a lot of chaos, right? It's going to feel chaotic. It's going to feel destructive, right? But this is setting us up for a bigger expansion. So the amount of pain and suffering and discomfort that African people are experiencing as a whole is going to manifest and transmute into a very beautiful outcome. And we are going to see, specifically for Africa, we are going to see a new, you can call it like a golden age, a bronze age, or whatever you want to call it, like a new era of just constant expansion. Okay, after and it's already happening, it's already transitioning. We're already seeing the transition happening, right? But previous to this, it was very chaotic. It still is very chaotic, right? But we can see this realm is necessary and has a purpose, because it's going to happen anyway. There's nothing that African people have to do in particular to sway the energy left or right. No, the energy is going in the direction that it's going, whether we like it or not. So, like I said, this is a self-organizing system. And the only choice that we have on this realm is how we participate in it, how we perceive it, okay? Because everything is going to happen the way that it's supposed to, but it's our perception that we can choose to have. And yes, some perceptions are better than others. Some perceptions help you win more than others, all right? A winner's perception is different than a so-called loser's perception in this realm. So yeah, there's no such thing as demons or demonic energies. Every entity is operating on the frequency of love for our best and highest good. Okay, so the next time you feel like you're being haunted by a demon, or there's a spiritual attack on you, or so-called, you can ask the demon, what am I supposed to learn? In fact, if you can find it in your heart to laugh at the demon, at the so-called demon, to laugh and be brave, be courageous, because that's what it's asking you to do. It's not asking you to go to a practitioner to get it off of you. It's not asking you to be in fear and paranoia and develop a mental health issue. No, the point of that is for you to become strengthened, and it's your choice to perceive it a certain way, right? Because there really is nothing to fear on this realm. Like I said, every entity is operating on unconditional love, but the way that we view unconditional love is not whole, right? We've been sold a perspective on unconditional love. The paradigm that we know as unconditional love is very much so conditional and just out of whack. It's not in alignment. So in order to get into alignment, it does take courage, and it does take the ability to open one's mind up to the possibilities. Okay, so like I said, this message might not be for everyone, but if you're meant to receive it, you will. And so yeah, I hope you enjoyed the message. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comment section. I'd really love to hear your thoughts, and I will see you in the next one. All right, peace. Creatrix out.